Good morning. Give friends a chance to get logged on here in just a moment. There we go. All right. Good morning, Peaceniks, from my home to yours. Not necessarily how we maybe would have thought we'd be spending this morning together, but certainly happy to be here. Our live stream is up on Facebook, on our YouTube channel, and for the first time today, on our Instagram. So if you are one of our regular community participants, I'm really glad that you guys are here with us this morning. If you are somebody who's just finding us for the first time in one of those places, I'm really thankful that you're here. We normally would be in our in-person service at the Texas Hall in Round Rock today, but the weather had other plans for us. We made that call earlier this week, and just kind of had that reaffirmed kind of each day as another thing, kind of say, hey, like, this is canceled, and heard from school district and from rec sports and different other areas saying, hey, things are canceled, stay home, stay warm, stay safe. And so I'm glad we made that choice, although I do miss seeing everybody this morning. We spent a year doing our services online in this platform in 2020 to 2021 during lockdowns, and so it's certainly not new to us, but it's been a while. So what you're getting this morning is actually going to be a little bit of the David show. We StreamYard in the service that we use definitely accounts for adding folks in. I have forgotten how to do that, and I didn't have the time to figure that out this week, although I plan to kind of re-educate myself so that on the occasion that we are doing something like, have to do something like this again, we can incorporate more members of our community. So I'm very excited to be here with you all. And I know I had said initially in some of our communication, we would do just a brief sermon, and we will, but we also had a request to go ahead and add a communion element to our morning. And I also wanted to, after the week that was had and the events of yesterday in Minneapolis, wanted to add the prayers of the people component back into our service for this morning as well. And so the prayers of the people at Peace of Christ, we invite people to come up and share a community prayer or an individual prayer that they want to voice to the community. And then our community responds, "Oh Lord, hear our prayer." And so if you are so inclined, you can share a prayer that you have in the comments, and I know you can see those there, but I can also read those out. And so I want to start us by sharing my prayer for the people in Minneapolis, those who live there and are from there and who are working there, or who were striking there earlier this week, or people who have gone to the city from out of town, out of state, to support the work and the resistance efforts that are going on there. And so my prayer is for those people, for their safety, and for their peace and for their comfort. And so I invite you to respond with me, "Oh Lord, hear our prayer." I invite you, if you are viewing with us and you have a prayer you would like to share as well, you can share that in the comments and I can read those as well. Kindle, our pastor affirmation shares, "I would like to pray for those being targeted by ICE, those who are hiding in fear, and those who have been separated from their families." And we respond as a community, "Oh Lord, hear our prayer." Give another moment for anybody else who would like to share a prayer this morning. God, we lift these prayers that were shared here and those that have not been. We lift them to you. Oh Lord, hear our prayer. So we when we made that choice earlier this week, said, hey, let's not be in person. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a good situation for anybody. We sent out communication and said, hey, we won't be in person, but we don't want to miss this opportunity to be together on a Sunday we normally would. Let's jump online. And so sent that communication out. Like I said, got some feedback that also said, hey, can we do a communion reflection? And I got kind of excited about that because this is a little bit different for our community at this point in the life of our church, but it wasn't always. From March 2020 through Easter of 2021, we met online 100% of the time. Hillary and I had just started to come to Peace of Christ 6 years ago now, so in January of 2020, and we had this handful of Sundays meeting people, saying hellos, getting the vibe, learning kind of some of the ins and outs of Peace of Christ Church at the time, before we went fully online and found ourselves in the position of having to kind of meet and get to know people on screens and in this digital world that we were all kind of learning. And it was an interesting place to be. And there was this moment early on where it seemed like it might be easier to go back to a community we'd known for such a long time, to be around what they were doing online and going back to being together in person much earlier. But it didn't feel right. We were being much more COVID conscious than we knew many people in that community to be. And we weren't interested in going back to being in crowds. We felt more enlivened spiritually with what was going on at Peace. So we did build community with the people at Peace of Christ, slowly but surely online, which was just the new normal for so many people. People were doing, friends, social hours, game nights, movie watching, family gatherings, all that kind of stuff online. It was a new normal. A big part of that building community, though, for us with the Peace of Christ community was from the communion moment of our weekly online gatherings. They were always thoughtful and meaningful, but this fun little thing started to happen. We couldn't really deliver, bread and juice or wine to everyone during the week. So it was kind of incumbent upon us to make sure we had what we needed for the communion moment each week. When we were getting started, and I guess I can tell you now because I forgot, make sure you have what you're going to use for communion. Say, hey, grab your communion elements so that you've got them when the time comes, which is now. I'm so sorry. Mallory texted me a few minutes ago and said, are you really having an old fashioned right now for real? And I certainly am. It's my communion, one of my communion elements, Mallory. And so we would ask people, the people who were leading elements that you could see on the screen, hey, what do you have for your communion element? And it was coffee, it was juice, it was wine, whiskey, a number of fun juice replacements, right? I know someone had a walnut once. There was toast, cereal, fruit, finding what we had with us to use. And so it was a fun, exciting moment. Janice's COVID communion was the best it was, man. It was a real trip. It became this great joke among our community to see what people were going to have, and we would ask in the comments, and people would kind of share what they were using. And so I want to invite you as well this morning, if you have your communion elements, what you're using. Paul, that's a great question. I do wonder if the juice frozen in there. I think we moved the juice inside actually, so maybe it's not so frozen in there. We were all in this isolating experience together. Anna says she's using hot tea and dark chocolate. I love that. I think that's a great set of communion elements there. Miles has got Hershey's Kisses and cranberry juice. So the communion moment of a church gathering historically has been about the coming together of the body of Christ across space and time. So we had to make the best of what was going on there with us. Kendall's got coffee and a muffin. I love that. It's a mystical experience connecting us to each other and to Christ. It did that for us as a community through the lockdown era of COVID, and it has done that since long before us and will continue to connect us to others long after we are no longer here. So my communion elements this morning, yes, Mallory, my old fashioned, and a little piece of bacon. Shout out to my mom, Sarah. It's her birthday this morning, so Hillary made her a nice big birthday breakfast for us to have, and so I snagged a piece of bacon from that before I stepped in here to have as part of my communion elements. And so I want to invite you now to get your elements ready and then to join me in our liturgy. Paul, yeah, I would say that's coffee and a Triscuit. I don't know if many communities use that. So I'll read the plain text and invite you to read along with me in the highlighted text. God is within you. God is also within you. Lift up your hearts. We join in the beloved community. Let us give thanks for the blessing of life. Together we raise our voices in gratitude. God, this non-traditional way of coming together for us now on this cold morning maybe brings some feelings of nostalgia and some good memories of the connections that we did share in a time of unknown and unrest. Maybe that's a little bit of what we needed today as we experience more unknown and unrest. So my prayer, my hope, my love for this community today is to feel connected to each other, though we are far apart. We are connected to Christ, and that we are connected to the church. Amen. Great is the mystery of faith. Christ has reimagined death, and we join him in bringing heaven to earth. I muted myself so you wouldn't have to hear me chew my bacon. Kendall, this is a fair question. Why bacon for Sarah? She is a vegan. She allows herself bacon a number of times throughout the year because it's her fave. And I love that about her. So continuing with the theme of me sharing all of our service elements this morning. No, not Life of the Church. There we go. As we enter this time of our sermon, the Collection of Epiphany series is one of my favorite sermon series that we have each year. In fact, it's the only recurring series we do exactly the same way each year, if I'm remembering correctly. If someone else can name one that we do that's named the same and the same parameters and all that, please correct me in the comments. And I want to say it's been a long tradition of Peace of Christ. I mentioned Hillary, my family, and I have been here for 6 years now, but I believe it's something that has been done even before that time. And Paul, you may be able to speak to that there in the comments. But I love it. We loosely follow the church calendar and hit the highlights: Lent, Easter, Advent, things like that. But every New Year during the season of Epiphany, we invite the preaching team and guests to reflect on something they've learned, maybe within the last year, but really just something they've learned in their life, an epiphany they have had. And so we share this every year. Now, some years I've had the opportunity to preach in this series, and I've had to think long and hard. What's something I've learned this last year? What's something that's come to me? Or looking back, what's something I've learned over the course of my life that I haven't preached about here yet, or that I can find new perspective on? Not so this year. back in the summer of 25, all those months ago, I was doing a rewatch of Grey's Anatomy. I love that show. I do. I'm sorry. I know it's crazy. And truthfully, we are multiple seasons behind, probably 3 or 4. And what happened was that in the early days of our relationship, I wanted Hillary to watch a sci-fi show with me, and she was just not that into it. But she said if I would watch all 9 seasons of Grey's Anatomy at the time, she would watch a season of a sci-fi show with me. And I said, that's great. So it's difficult to watch 9 seasons of a show and not get invested in it. Okay. So here we are all these years later, and I can't not know what happens to these people. Uh, and so I continue to watch. I continue to be interested in what's going on, despite how crazy it is. We're, like I said, we're like 3 or 4 seasons behind, but so I don't have any idea what's going on in that world right now. But man, I came across this speech in an episode that I had to make note of, and I just wrote Bailey's speech to Callie on her wedding day on a sticky note, and I stuck it up on my corkboard right here in front of me so that I wouldn't forget. Because I knew that was going to be my epiphany for this series this year. I was so excited about it. I had 6 months to think about it, work on it, and shape it. How exciting. And then, of course, life happened, as it does. Riker went back in the hospital 2 times. I was there with him. We have this newborn baby who is going to be 1 in less than a month, which, cannot be real. But let me tell you about this moment from Grey's Anatomy. Callie and Arizona, who are 2 of the main characters of the show at this point in season 7 that I was watching, are getting married. It's so exciting. But so many things are going wrong on the day of their wedding. Callie feels like maybe she shouldn't get married. She's not supposed to get married. Bailey is the best, Jen. I agree. And her mom, her mom won't come to the wedding because Callie's marrying a woman. She was raised a Catholic and still shares that faith with her family, but disagrees obviously on this point. And so the priest who was supposed to perform the ceremony, his wife was in a car wreck, and he has to go and support her and be there for her. So Callie's ready to call the whole thing off. But here comes Dr. Miranda Bailey, their mother hen, their matriarch. She finds Callie at her home, and they have this conversation. Callie says, I can't have a priest. I no longer have a minister. I'm not being given away by my dad. The wedding isn't legal. What's the point? This isn't a wedding. It's not even in a church. It's nothing. It's a couple of girls playing dress up. It's not real. It's not real. And Bailey says, okay, first of all, you do not need the law or a priest or your mother to make your wedding real. And the church can be anywhere you want it to be, in a field or on a mountain, right here in this room, anywhere. Because where do you think God is? Come on. He's in you. He's in me, just right there in the middle of us. And pause for a moment. There's a little bit of panentheism from Shonda Rhimes for those of you following along at home. So she goes on to say, now your church just hasn't caught up to God yet. Your mother, she hasn't caught up to God yet. And by the way, she may never catch up, but it's okay. It's okay. If you are willing to stand up in front of your friends and family and God and commit yourself to another human being, to give yourself in that kind of partnership for better or worse, in sickness and in health, honey, that is a marriage. That is real. And that's all that matters. It says your church hasn't caught up to God. Your mom hasn't caught up to God. This isn't a speech about anybody being better than or some kind of holier than thou proclamation. It's Bailey helping Callie learn something that many of us in the Peace of Christ community I know have learned before. It's okay to grow in our understanding of the divine and live in a way that reflects that new understanding. It's okay. She doesn't tell her it's going to be easy to do or that people are going to understand or that she'll never second guess herself, but she tells her it's going to be okay. And it will be, and it has been, and it hasn't been. And as Julian of Norwich told us, all will be well, and all manner of things will be well. My epiphany was finding comfort in that I'm not the only one who ever found themselves feeling like the people around me haven't let their hearts catch up to the love of God. Men and women through this history and life of the church have found themselves with this feeling. We had the Desert Fathers and Mothers, the Reformation, the Awakening, and many other points in the timeline of the church that I'm leaving off this list, and probably many, many others that don't have fancy specific time period names. I believe the church in America has been, is, and will be for a bit more time in one of those times now, when we have to ask if the church and the people around us have caught up to the heart and the love of God. So over the last few years, we've seen an increase in Christian nationalism. But really, that's just an outpouring of the last few decades, 50, 60 years, of the white evangelical industrial church complex, seeking more and more proximity to power from financial proximity to and favor from financial, institutional, and political places of power. In the last year, many of us have seen people we know and love and have looked up to, and people we have never met, and people with sway and say decide to embrace positions that I believe, and I know many others in this community believe, to be anti-Christ, divisive, unloving, unkind, inconsiderate, intentionally harmful to others. 2 American citizens have been executed by federal law enforcement on the streets of Minnesota in the last 2 weeks. Children have been used as bait and as pawns, all while people and institutions many of us were told to trust implicitly tell us we're not seeing what we're seeing, not hearing what we're hearing, something they've been doing in some way, shape, or form for the last 10 years, renewed with vigor 5 years ago, and now being used daily. Someone wrote a book with a phrase like that once. Many of us, frightened, frustrated, saddened that so many who claim to share the same name as we do, Christian, have not allowed their hearts to catch up to the way we understand the love of God to be offered to all and what it means to live because of that. Every person God has created is seen with love in the eyes of God. Why can't they see with that same love? Why they can't see with that same love is difficult to understand, but the actions it leads to are beyond the pale. We cannot allow that, though, to stop us from carrying that love into the world. In the way we talk to and treat those around us, in the way we merge on the highway, in the way we have a disagreement with a partner, and the way that we engage with those who disagree with us. Not that we ever waver in our conviction of the acceptance that God offers to all her baby chicks, but that we hope beyond what we believe is possible, that they may come to a new understanding of God. That we hope beyond what they have shown us, that we hope beyond what we have seen. Their willingness to be, that they come to a new understanding of God. Jesus, walking along the seaside, finds 2 sets of 2 brothers, and he calls them to this work, to fish for people and bring them to a new understanding of the love and work of God, to follow him as he went through the region, preaching the coming of the kingdom of God, healing those who needed healing. Matthew 4, verses 18 through 25. And he says, as Jesus walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw 2 brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fisherfolk. And he said to them, follow me, and I will make you fish for people, women, children, and men. At once they left their nets and followed him. As Jesus went from there, he saw 2 other brothers, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John, in the boat with their father Zebedee, mending their nets, and he called them. At once they left the boat and their father and followed him. Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the reign of God and curing every disease and every malady among the people, women, men, and children. So his fame spread throughout all Syria. And they brought to him all the sick, those who were afflicted with various diseases and tormented by pain, demoniacs, epileptics, and paralytics, and he cured them. And great crowds followed him from Galilee to the Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and from beyond the Jordan. He was a new teacher, at the very least, in their understanding, teaching a new way, a different way than the elites and the religious leaders of the day. He called them to leave what they were doing, what they knew, and because they sensed something in him, they dropped it all and went. Jesus was a compelling person then, and his life and legacy and work and love and all the good he showed are all compelling enough reasons for people to continue to follow him today when he's shown us, as we know him to be, a new way, a different way, often called a third way to inhabit the world around us. As people who have come to that new understanding, who believe we have caught up to God's heart, we have a responsibility to stand against injustice, stand against wrongness, stand against the people and places and institutions that would use the name of Christ in vain, not by saying a swear word, but by living in a way that is anti-Christ, all the while claiming to live in that same name. And the way we consider what it means for us to use our voices, our resources, and our bodies to protect those most vulnerable, we ask in what ways we need to allow our hearts to catch up to the love of God. In what ways do we need to show others how they can allow their hearts to catch up to the love of God? Amen. The series of the Collection of Epiphany series always excites me. I love to hear from our community and from guests about what they've learned, about what God has taught them, about who God has showed them to be, who God has shown God's self to be to them. I was so excited about what I had learned from this episode of Grey's Anatomy, as I often tell you what I've learned from an episode of a television show. But it was not possible to stop there. It was not possible to just talk about what it means to allow the people we know and love the opportunity to have their heart catch up to God this week. Alex Preddy, Renee Good had their lives cut short because people who claim to know and share the love of Christ have chosen to support the opposite of everything Christ stood for. It's a difficult place for us to be. We're far removed from the on-the-ground work happening. We have a colleague who went up there this week, and some in our communities have supported that work, and we're excited to hear from her in the coming days about what things have been like there. Kendall and Mallory and I have plans to get some information about what we can do as people who are so physically removed from what's going on there. And everybody cannot answer these calls in the same way. Everybody cannot go to Minnesota. Everybody cannot, when things do come where they are, go put their bodies there. Not everybody is called to do that, and that's okay. That's where we come to our time and our resources and our understanding, and we look to see and share and pray. God bind their hands. God change their minds. God curdle the food in their stomach at the work they're doing. We'll have opportunity in the coming days, like I said, to hear from people who have been on the ground, and I hope that you'll join us in that. I hope that you will not close your eyes, not close your mind, not close your ears to what is going on, and you will ask yourself what it means to help others catch up to the love of God. There's a couple more things before we jump off of our stream this morning. We are offering during this Lent season an experience called Lent Offline. If you are someone who wants to examine your relationship to your digital life, to your screens and your screen time, and what that means for how you inhabit the world around you, come join us for this interest meeting. We'll talk about why you're examining that within yourself, and what it can look like for you to participate in the Lent Offline experience. It's not going to be a one size fits all, right? It's not, what's going to work for me is not going to work for somebody else. And that's not the point. The point isn't for us to get together and prescribe, hey, we're doing Lent offline. Here's what you have to do to participate. It's to hear from others, find out what might work for us. And obviously, then we'll get some more information about what that will look like through the Lent season. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, please join us Thursday, February 5th, 7 p.m. on a Google Meet. And then we have a guest preacher coming for our next in-person service. So next Sunday, February 1st, is a Feed Your Soul Sunday for the Peace of Christ community. We don't meet that Sunday morning, the first Sunday of the month. We encourage you to rest, to go to brunch, to go for a hike, to do nothing, whatever feels right for you. And then that next Sunday in person, Luke Bitsky, a student at Bright Divinity in Dallas, is coming down to spend a part of the weekend with us. We'll have a time where you can hang out with him, chat with him, and be together as a community. And then Luke will also share his epiphany with us on Sunday, February 8th. And then the next Sunday would typically be a watch party Sunday for our community. But we have the opportunity to hear from author Kat Armas about her new book. And it's on the screen, but I just thought I might find my copy, but I don't have it right here with me. Just kidding, right here. There we go. Liturgies for Resisting Empire. Prescient at the time she spent writing it last year and before, but pressing now for us to understand as a community of faith what it means to resist empire when so many that claim to share our faith join with the empire. So Sunday, February 15th, here at my home from 3 to 5 p.m. What we ask is that you actually read the book before you come. If you're able, there's audio, there's digital, there's physical. When you sign up, you'll get some more information about that so that after Kat shares some thoughts with us, you'll have the ability to kind of and have an informed dialogue based on the text of the book. And so those are the things we have coming up that, like I said, are different or that we feel like are important, that we want to give you the opportunity to participate in the Lent Offline, to hear from Luke Bitsky, guest preacher, student at Bright Divinity, and then obviously to meet and hear from author Kat Armas. So all coming up here pretty soon. I'm going to share our benediction liturgy now. And as with the communion liturgy, I'll read the plain text and invite you to follow along in the highlighted text. Lord, you are ascending God. You sent your word to create. You sent Christ to reveal. You sent your spirit to empower. You sent your church to proclaim. Send us, O God, to renew the earth. Lead us by your spirit and your word. As your people we now go, by our peace we'll make you known. People of God, you are sent. Go in peace for peace. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning on this strange and different Sunday morning for us. I hope that you are warm and safe. Please don't go anywhere if you don't absolutely have to. Be safe, stay safe. I love you. Have a wonderful, warm rest of your day. Whitney Wooten, who is an immigration lawyer in our community. I just said we're going to end, but this is a great point. Whitney says not to take away from what is happening in Minnesota, which is absolutely horrific, but people are being detained in our own community, and I've heard reports of ICE drawing their guns on U.S. citizens trying to record interactions. Our community is also not safe, and that's absolutely true. As Kendall and Mallory and I, like I said, go to this training session tomorrow. I do want to come to our community with some specific things that we can do this coming week. And Kendall, to your point, yeah, Whitney, maybe us being able to get some information from you. I've seen a lot of local online folks sharing, as far as I know, information about maybe a hotel where ICE is staying. And that's kind of where I want to get into and say, there are things that we can do in our community, but we would ask every individual to consider what is safe and good for them. and so, yes, please stay tuned this week for some more information about how we can get involved in that work that is happening here. Thank you, Whitney. I appreciate that. All right. Goodbye. Have a wonderful rest of your day.